live. Just take just a moment for us to be live. It looks like we are ready to go. So let's start. Hello, welcome to the Escondido Public Library Virtual Author Chat Series. Today's chat is in partnership with the Mysterious Galaxy bookstore, where you can purchase books by the author. We are your hosts for today. I'm Jessica Buck.
And I'm Eveleen, and today we are joined by author Kristin A. Sherry. Kristin A. Sherry is a best-selling award-winning author, globally recognized career expert, and creator of the UMAP profile, which won a 2020 Career Innovator Award from Career Directors International. She's a speaker, trainer, and author of international best-selling UMAP and a 2020 Pencraft Award winner in business books for Your Team Loves Monday, right? Her second children's book, You Got Values, released March 11th. 2021.
Hi, Eveleen and Jessica. Thank you so much for having me. I haven't been to Escondido since I was 14 years old, which is about 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
So
come back.
I would love to. It was amazing.
Yes, it's even better. So it's really great. Great community.
Yeah, we are so excited.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited
and I want to
too.
let everyone I want to let everyone know watching that we will be monitoring the comments. If you have any questions, please add those to the comments and we'll get those answered. And for those who ask a question, one lucky person will receive a signed copy of You've Got Values from Kristin. So ask some questions and you have a chance to win.
Yay. I just want to say happy 20th birthday to my son, Justin, today.
Oh, very nice.
Happy birthday.
He better be watching. No.
I bet he probably isn't. But it doesn't hurt my feelings.
Well, before we get to the questions, Kristin will be reading from her book, You've Got Values. So let's hear what this book has to say.
Thank you so much. So I know everyone watching has probably had an experience where you had your values violated in some way, whether it was by a boss or a friend. And so we're trying to teach kids in this book to be aware of what their own values are and to learn how to honor those values. So I won't read the whole book, but I'll get you started so you can get a sense and a feel for the book. So I'm going to try and hold it up so that you can see the pictures as well. Hopefully you can see those. 6-year-old Eveleen put her lunchbox on the table with her schoolmates, Jax, Emma Lucia, Daphne, and Jacob sat. She looked up and saw a new girl eating alone. She announced, "I'm going to ask the new girl to eat with us. It makes me sad to watch her eat alone." Her friends nodded as they munched on their lunches. Eveleen walked over to the girl. "Hello, I'm Eveleen," she said cheerfully. Eveleen motioned with her head and said, "Would you like to come sit with my friends and me?" The new girl looked up and smiled at Eveleen. "Hi, I'm Key. I don't mind eating alone, but I would like to sit with you and your friends." Eveleen returned to the table and introduced Key. Plunking into her seat, Eveleen opened her lunchbox. As she lifted the top, oh, I'm going to turn so you can see this side because I want you to see this. I love this little, I'm going to put it in. Look at this little sandwich with the fairy. I just love this little sandwich. Okay. She saw a small fairy sitting on her sandwich. "Katerina, how did you fit into my lunchbox?" Eveleen asked, delighted. "Fairy magic, of course. I thought it would be fun to surprise you." Katerina grinned. Eveleen's friend stopped eating, looking amazed. Katerina was Eveleen's fairy companion. She curtsied and said, "It's nice to see you, Eveleen." Katerina had butterfly wings. She wore a crown made of twigs and leaves and a silk dress of green and shimmering gold. "I've been keeping my eye on you and your friends." Oh, that's great with the full screen. Thank you. Eveleen spotted a teacher and quickly scooped Katerina into her shirt pocket. Katerina peeked out and said, "I'm proud of you for inviting Key to sit with you." The fairy turned to the kids and asked, Do you know why Eveleen did that? Wide-eyed, the friends shook their heads no. Katerina explained. Eveleen felt sad Key was sitting alone. Empathy is important to her. What is empathy? Eveleen asked. Katerina explained. Empathy is feeling someone else's joy or pain as if it happened to you. I never thought about it, but I imagine how people feel all the time, Eveleen replied. Do you know what values are? Katerina asked. The friends shrugged and said no. Values are things that are important to you, Katerina explained. So I asked Key to eat with us because other people's feelings are important to me, Eveleen asked. You've got it, Katerina agreed. Your values are your guide. They help you make choices about how to live. Would you like to learn more about values? Katerina asked. Oh, yes, the kids shouted together. After the bell rang, Eveleen and her friends went outside to the playground. They found a place to sit under a tree. Katerina, making a grand entrance, backflipped out of Eveleen's pocket. Tell us about values, the kids shouted. Katerina danced over to Jax. Can you think of times when you felt happy? Jax's face lit up. I'm happy when I make up stories and go to outer space. Katerina said, you must value creativity and adventure. Jax grinned from ear to ear. Katerina turned to Emma Lucia and asked, when do you feel happy? I feel happy when I share my toys and snacks, she replied. Katerina smiled. That's very kind of you, Emma Lucia. I think you must value generosity. You probably feel sad when others don't share. Emma Lucia nodded her head. Katerina flew to the top of Jacob's head and nestled into a pile of his curls. I have to tell you all that my co-author for this book, Lila Smith, this is her little brother. He's 30 now, but when he was a little boy, we sent a picture of him to the illustrator, and this is her actual little brother, which is so fun.
That's adorable.
What about you, Jacob? What makes you happy? He thought for a moment, then said, I'm happy when we all play nicely together. It makes me feel uncomfortable when we argue. Daphne chimed in. Daphne's my niece. You try to make peace when we fight. You must value getting along with others. Jacob smiled at Daphne. Katerina cheered with her pom-poms. Go, Daphne! What makes you happy? Daphne spoke up immediately. I like to be treated the same as everyone else. It bugs me when I get in trouble, but other kids get away with stuff. I don't like when I have to follow rules, but others don't. Katerina folded her arms and said, It sounds like you value fairness, Daphne. I do, she exclaimed. Now I want you to notice something about Key we're going to talk about, and then I'll probably end the story here. And you get the idea of what the book is about from how much I've read. But pay attention to what Katerina says to Key, this conversation, and what you saw happen when Eveleen went to talk to her at the lunch table. Katerina turned to Key. Well, Key, what's important to you? Key bit her bottom lip as she thought, I like to make my own decisions. I want to pick out my clothes and fix my own plate at supper. Katerina jumped on Key's shoulder and announced, You value independence. You like to make your own choices. Key leaped to her feet, placed her hands on her hips, and shouted, I'm independent. Her new friends laughed with her. So the story goes through the rest of the kids, and she talks about what happens when your values don't align. So what could happen when you have friends that you value honesty and they don't tell you the truth, or you value positivity and you have a friend that likes to complain, how that can create problems when you surround yourself with friends who don't honor your values or you don't share values. And it talks a little bit about how your values can influence your job choices as well. And then there's activities at the back to actually help children in your life discover their own values and talk about a time you made decisions and it didn't align to your values and what happened. Age appropriate stories, of course. But you'll notice at the beginning, Key said, I don't mind eating alone, but I'd like to come meet your friends, because she values independence. So we tried to weave the behaviors of the kids throughout the story as what their values actually were for some authenticity. Thank you for letting me read that to your listeners.
That was wonderful. I love that. Can't wait
Yes,
to
thank you.
get the book and finish.
See how it ends.
See how it ends. Dun, dun, dun. No, it's great. It's really a book that, even like you said, the decisions that Key makes in the beginning is still there. So awesome. Love it.
Yay. So let's get on to some of our questions. Now, you've already told us a little bit about the book, but what inspired you to write not only this book, but the series?
So I used to coach people, and invariably the great things I saw about people, their talent, their values, the skills they were good at, aspects of their personality, they had the impression that these things were bad. And they would say things like, well, when I was a kid, I was told that my independence made me cold, or I never wanted to be with people. And I would sometimes get in trouble that I would go away from the rest of the family and they would think that I was rejecting them. Or I was told things like I talk too much, or I was bossy. Some of the strengths or values or skills or personality characteristics we've been given feedback as children that there was something wrong with those things. And that really stemmed from adults who were wired differently, not understanding us. And so people would say, I wish I knew these things about myself younger. So the 4 books are really, my book for adults called UMAP covers the 4 pillars of career fit. So a friend of mine said, her name is Shar, she said, you should really write children's books. And I thought, oh my goodness, I don't even know the first thing about how to do that. And I realized that writing children's books, well, how hard can this be, right? 800 words. I'm used to writing 50,000 words. That'll be easy. Not so much, because you're writing big ideas in fewer words, in smaller words that interest the parent and also interest the child or the caregiver or the teacher, whoever's reading with that child. And then having to keep their attention 2 different audiences. And I realized that it was a lot harder than writing books for adults where you just sort of type what you know. So that is really what prompted the book, is realizing how many adults didn't realize what a masterpiece they were, that they're a 1 in 8 billion person, and only they, no one else before, presently, or after them will ever live. And people sometimes think I'm exaggerating when I say that, but think about a person that you know, and now name another person who's exactly the same as them. You can't do it.
Yeah.
So I wanted kids to realize that they're a unique masterpiece and that they have gifts to offer the world, rather than thinking that they are bad or these things about them are negative.
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, you kind of answered the second part of this question I have is, have you always wanted to write for kids' books? And then how is your book different because it's targeted at kids?
So it's different in a few ways, but it's also similar to my adult books in certain ways. And that's, I wanted to have practical application. A lot of times people get inspired, but then they don't know what to do with the information. So I always say inspiration plus information plus application leads to transformation. And so they're similar that way, but they're very different because, you know, interestingly, children are more open.
Yeah.
A lot of times adults read my books, well, I can't do this, or I can't align my life to my values because it's going to upset my parents or my spouse or someone who won't allow me to do this, or my boss would never let me, or I can't transition my career because I'm too old. All these different excuses, where I find children are open and pliable and receptive, and they believe in what's possible. So that's what's different, is I felt I could really go for it with these books in helping people really reach for their potential at a young age, because they're open to it.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool. I like I said earlier to you, I loved the fact that I wish I had this book when I was younger.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
So cool. Yes.
So this is a little bit of a technical question about like your writing process. So what is your writing process, and how is it different from the books targeted at adults that you've written, and then how you had to kind of come at writing these books for children.
Yeah, so the process is completely different for adults and children. And essentially what I do is I think about what are the concepts that I want to share. And I will put each concept on a blank page in Word. And then that tells me how many pages the book needs to be. And of course, with kids' books, they're 8 pages, 16 pages, 24 pages, 32 pages, 40 pages for picture books in groups of 8, which I didn't know before I started children's books. I had to do a lot of research. And so I realized since I'm telling big life-changing concepts, I really needed the full 40. So I always keep my books to those 40 pages of content, and then try to tell the story within the confines of that. It forces me to be concise, and I'm definitely a couch writing person, so I'm very casual. So then my process is allowing children and their parents or caregivers or grandparents to read the book and give me feedback. So I usually pick about 5 to 7 parent-child or adult-child combinations and get their feedback. What words did they not understand? Where did they check out and get bored? Did it keep their attention? What did they love? What did they not like? And then after I incorporate the beta reader feedback, it then goes to the editor. So that's my basic process.
That's cool. That's a good, hearing how authors create, it varies differently. So I've heard about the authors go outside and, take a walk or in the shower. But I like that. I like that writing.
I also think about the book before I write. So I think through the story and I use my imagination, and I just allow myself a few days to imagine.
Yes.
And then I start writing, because I get writer's block with the kids' books. I never get that with adult books, but I get writer's block with kids' books on what should happen next in the story. Yeah. So I imagine first and then write second.
Well, then this will kind of be a good question for the next one is what did you enjoy the most about writing You've Got Values? Because there's so much passion you have about it.
Yeah, what I enjoyed, there was 2 things. First of all, Lila Smith, she's a former actress in theater in New York City, 10 years in New York City in theater. And she's the creator of a methodology of communication called Say Things Better. So the best thing about it was collaborating with her, and we did it over Zoom, and her bringing that flair of her acting background and her communication background was a really wonderful collaboration. The second thing is, when I was at an unhappy point in my career, I didn't know that it was values violations that was causing it. So what I enjoyed most was bringing this life-changing knowledge to children to discover earlier, so that values are in their stream of consciousness as, hey, this could be what's wrong of why I'm not happy or fulfilled or satisfied. Because it took me to almost 43 years old to even go through and outline what my values were. And when I did that, I realized my top 5 values were being violated in my life, all 5. And so once I made those changes, it immediately increased my life satisfaction, my joy, my happiness, stopped crying on the drive to work every day. And just being able to know that I was going to facilitate that in children and in their adults in their lives that are reading with them was super meaningful.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh wow, that is so cool. Definitely love that. I mean, nobody wants to be crying on their way to work,
No, that's not a good use of your time.
No.
Or at work.
Or at work.
Or at work.
Yes. Oh wow, good.
So our next question is about the values that you chose to represent in the book. Are they ones that are particularly important to you, or was it kind of the journey of writing the characters in the book that those values kind of revealed themselves?
So it was a combination of 2 things. So as you mentioned in my bio, I created the UMAP profile. And so I looked at the data of what the top values were that people picked when they were doing the assessments to get their UMAP. And so making a difference, and there were certain values that are most common in human beings that we share. And then what I did was I thought about people who I wanted to incorporate into the book, like Jacob, Lila's brother, and my niece Daphne. And we had conversations with them about what was important to them and incorporated their actual values into the story. So it was a combination of most common values in people with the values of the people who we know who are in the book.
Because there's more than one value.
Yeah, there's a dozen of them. And then there's an exercise at the back to discover which of those values the reader resonates with.
Yeah, I looked at all those, and then after I read the book, I did my little values, and I had a hard time picking the 3 that I wanted.
It's not easy. It's not an easy exercise, and it shouldn't be, because this isn't just a casual thing we're doing. It's a deep reflection of what's most important. What were times I felt most happy, satisfied, and fulfilled in life? And that's not something you're like off the top of the off the cuff. You have to go deep, which is why we have the questions in the back to facilitate those conversations.
I loved. That was really, really helpful. Added an extra part of the book than just the story, because sometimes you read a story and you're like, done, and then but this was more. It made you pull out a lot more of yourself. And then for the readers, and I love that you can have teachers come get this book and discuss it in your classroom as a group. And I like the how you had to go about, have the child stand up and share a value. And there's a lot more. I'm not going to give up because
the thing I love about the teachers doing this with their students is, actually a teacher, I had mentioned this backstage before we went live. A teacher had said, I work at a values charter school. We talk about values every day, but we've never actually had children identify their own values. And so she was excited to use this with all her classes. But also, I got feedback that a pre-K teacher had said that at circle time she read the book, and that in next circle time they requested to read it again. Inherently, people want to understand themselves. It's our favorite topic to learn about ourselves. And I really love to be able to bring those special conversations between kids and their adults. Because we don't have conversations like that on a daily basis, because we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, it's so important. I'm kind of going off script here, but it's going to lead to a question. I was going to lead to the last question, because things are happening so much nowadays that it is hitting the values of each individual personally. So I love the fact that this book is written. I can't say enough. When I said, saw the list that you were on it, I was reading about it. I was like, me, I want to be on this interview panel, because it is so important. We saw everything how crazy 2020 was, and I'm not looking to deflect to that, but we have to be aware of what the environment is going on, what's going on in our community, and the values do start at a young age. I firmly believe that. And it is harder to create a child or have a child accept their values. And like you mentioned earlier, they could be different from their parents, and to know that that's okay. That's so important for a young child to acknowledge that. So my question at this point is, what do you hope readers, children's parents, teachers take away from You've Got Values?
I love this question. Right? I love this question. So here's what I hope. I hope it removes misunderstanding, because I feel that when we have children that are different than us, teachers as well have students that are different from them, we make assumptions about why they think this way, speak this way, behave this way. And we might assume someone like Key is just a belligerent child when she wants to do things herself and doesn't allow anyone to help her or whatever. But you can never get between a person and their values. You're really going to lose every time. We might not know what they are consciously, but we will react when our values are violated, parent and child. And I feel it creates unnecessary conflict. When you really understand yourself and others, it creates this compassion and tolerance for each other. And you don't make assumptions about what does that decision or behavior or action mean in this person. And you truly understand, they're reacting this way because so I'll give you a very quick example. My son, whose birthday it is today, values loyalty. And when he would have his picture taken, he would say, I don't want my picture on the internet. So I would always ask his permission. And if you didn't ask his permission, you were violating his value of loyalty. And you might say, you're just overreacting. You look great in the picture, but it's not the picture on the internet. It's that I asked you not to, and you did it anyway, and that was disloyal to me. So we might think someone's overreacting, but we violated a personal value, and the reason they're upset isn't what we think. It's actually something else. That's what I would like the takeaway to be, to have a deeper understanding into how another person ticks, so we don't make assumptions about them.
Yes, because we
absolutely.
all do that. We like assume so much sometimes, and I know I learned a lot of that. For customer service, there's always this train of, when you deal with people, you can't always assume that they're mad at you. You're just the person that they're giving the, shouting at, because you're the final straw, that kind of, because they broke the camel's back, because it's what hurt them, whatever had gone inside, and to express that, it takes a lot out of them. So, I love this.
Yeah, it's something, values are important not only for personal relationships, but also relationships like at work.
Yeah.
Because everyone values different things, and everyone cares about different things.
Yeah. If you're a manager and you value connection, or you're a manager and you value independence and your employee values connection, I mean, think about that. One person wants to work independently and one wants to work in collaboration. And then you can take that as rejection, and it really has nothing to do with us personally. That's
a good point. That really is. Do you want me to ask that next question? Is that from a Facebook user?
No, that's just one that I thought of.
Oh,
so go ahead.
Good question. Okay. So it's, how did you choose the themes of each book? Like the gifts, the values, skills, because there's 4.
Right. So this one was easy because, like I said, it's modeled after my book for adults called UMAP, that helps people discover who they are and find or create a job they'll love. And I just found in my research that when you know your talents, which is you've got gifts, your values, you've got values, the skills you're good at and enjoy versus burnout skills, and your personality, who you are. It's really the how you work, why you work, what you want to work on, and who you are. When you know those things, you increase your fulfillment in life. And that I wanted to bring that concept to children. But I have written another children's book after this one called You've Got Quirks. And how I decided on that one was,
love it.
I'm focusing on what's right with you here, but we tend to think about what's wrong with us. Yes. So everyone can think of something that embarrassed them as a child. I have this sort of deformed toe because I have something called a hemangioma, and I never wanted to go swimming or be barefoot. And like, no one cares. I don't care. But it was such a big deal under a microscope as a child. So I'm telling the story of 4 children who embraced their quirks and grew up to be adults, that it's become their superpower. Aww. And that really, to truly be free, you have to embrace who you are fully. And those things are really a small part of you. So that book came from just hearing all of the negative things people say about themselves. And they're so focused on this quirk that they have, they don't, it blocks this stuff. It blocks the things. Yeah, it hinders you from embracing what you're learning in terms of your talents and your wonderful personality and things like that. So I thought, well, let's just address that head on. Yeah. That we know you think your nose is too big. We know you hate your laugh. We know you think you're too overweight. Like, we know these things, but.
That is so true. Yeah. Are you wearing a super cape? You're just amazing.
Oh, that's very kind, Eveleen. I appreciate your kind words. Making a difference is my number 2 value. So that's why I do what I do. I want to change people's lives. And I used to do it one person at a time through coaching. And I thought, if I write books, I can help people at scale. So I'm just living aligned to my own values.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I actually did purchase the UMAP because I've read these books.
Oh, that's funny.
So I'm like, I'm going to read that. That's for me. So that's awesome, because I love what I do, but I'm like, maybe there's something more. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's not even, people can read it where they are and just realize, oh, I understand myself more and what motivates me, and look for more of it to increase your potential, even where you are and beyond.
Yes. Oh, that is so amazing. I can't thank you enough for just writing these books. I love it. I've been pushing it to my niece and nephews, and hopefully I can give them as gifts to them so they can cherish and learn what gifts they have to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I have found that aunts and uncles and grandparents seem to be the most excited because they want to give this sort of special gift of self-awareness and confidence to these little people that they love, and they're sort of removed from the responsibility of the parenting. And I think they're more prone to see these things in them because they don't deal with the daily frustrations of the parenting.
That could be it, because I know I love all my nieces and nephews. I mean, I am super auntie. I don't have children of my own, but I have stepdaughters, but they're grown, and I still want to share that with them too. But the little ones, because I guess I missed that when I was growing up. Because like you said, you're hindered and you're blocked from your parents' perspective, what their values are for you, and versus what I wanted to be my own person. So
absolutely,
there was definitely conflict, but I'm better for it.
Yeah. We learn from the challenging situations as well.
Yes. Oh, this is great. Go buy the book or come to the library and check it out. That would be even better. That'd be great.
Yeah, I was just telling Eveleen, but earlier when we were preparing that, I was like, I got to get these for my nephews because I have 4.
Oh, nice.
I need to get them these books.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, they're ideal for, I have had 4-year-olds. My daughter's 4, and we read them with her and she loves them. So it depends on their attention span. So you could go as young as 4, although I have people who've read them to their 2-year-old and they love the pictures and they're just socializing it till they get a little older. But the ideal age is really 5 to 10. That's 9-year-olds, 8 and 9-year-olds, they really know how to do the exercises really well and extrapolate. So for example, I have a follower on LinkedIn who told me that her and her 2 daughters check in at the end of the week and talk about how they use their values, where their values violated, and they have an intentional conversation at the end of every week after they identified their top 3 values. And she said it's the highlight of her week. So when you have kids that are 8 and 9, you can really pull that into the real world in some sort of a structured but fun way.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love that they did that.
I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'm gonna actually do that with my stepdaughters. I think they love that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they're not little girls, but they're grown women, and I love that because
But we can all benefit from paying attention and using intention with, how did our values play out this week? Were we using them with intention? Were there people violating them? Do I need to think about who I'm surrounding myself with? Do I need to have an open conversation with someone? It can really, because a lot of times our values will be violated by someone and we just ignore it. But conversations and problems that get ignored tend to become bigger problems. They don't just resolve themselves usually.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh wow.
Yeah, and I think that being able to name your values and understand them makes it easier for you to have those conversations, because you have an understanding of, these are my values, these are my boundaries, and this is how those were threatened or those were, So I think it's really important. I want to do the exercise now because I didn't get to at the end of the book. I need to do it after this.
Yeah, I mean, I've done them myself because I wanted to make sure that they worked for children. So I did them with my own kids.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, because did you find that it was easy for them to express, or?
Oh yeah, and I actually, when I read You've Got Gifts, I thought I knew my own kids, and I know self-awareness and assessments is what I do for a living. But I found out my daughter was competitive, and I thought, no, you're not competitive. And she told me a story as we read through the book about a time she lost a race at school and how upset she was by that. And you're not competitive. And then the very next morning, we're going down to breakfast and she runs down the stairs and says to her sister, I beat you. And I was like, how am I missing these things? She's like racing to see who gets down the stairs first. And then at the dinner table, I finished first. And I thought, this just completely escaped me. And I realized that was something that I needed to create some constructive ways. And you can't say to a competitive child, oh, just have fun.
Right.
Because fun might be your value, but my 20-year-old whose birthday is today, he has competitiveness in his top strengths. He's just naturally competitive. And I remember taking him to football practice one day and saying to him after a bad practice he had, well, you're being too hard on yourself. Just go and have fun. And he looked at me, he was 17, and he said, Mom, I don't play football to have fun. Well, fun is my number 4 value. So to me, that made sense to speak advice to him out of my own values. And I thought, you don't play sports to have fun. Okay, well, that doesn't make sense to me. But then I realized if you said to an Olympic athlete, well, you should just be worrying about having fun. I mean, that's not why they got into, you would never get to the levels of Olympic competition if you were just trying to have fun. So they need to be that competitive to get to the top of their field.
Yes. Wow, that's so true. I couldn't see, Michael Phelps just having fun in the pool.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, but yeah, that's true. You have to have that competitive spirit, and that's a good value to have.
Yeah. So instead, when we know that they value competition, or they're wired to be competitive from the first book, then we know, rather than saying, oh, just have fun, we can say, okay, well, let's talk about what can you do so that you feel that you do a better job next time. Let's talk about, do you need to change the way you've been practicing? Is this the right sport for you? Is there something else you'd be better at? And you can be more constructive in how you help them handle the loss.
That's so good. Good way to do that. Good story too with your son. I love that. And your kids. Yay. That's awesome. Okay, now you have this great question, Jessica.
I know, I'm excited. I'm excited because you were already excited to tell us. Now I get to ask it. So what is your favorite library memory?
Oh boy. So the library raised me. When I was a child, I lived about 6 long blocks from the library, and I would walk to the library. I spent every Saturday at the library, but other days too. And my favorite books were the reference section, maps and encyclopedias. And I didn't like that I couldn't check them out and take them home. So I had to spend a lot of time at the library, laying on the floor in the map room or in the aisle. I read a lot of science books and books about animals. I loved facts and information. And I would rent records, because they had records back then, and they played movies at the library. So there'd be 6 chairs, and I sometimes was the only one sitting there watching the movie. And I would plan my whole day around the library. And the best day of my life was when I turned 12 and I could get an adult library card and check out as many books as my arms could hold. Yeah, the library, I tried to find any reason I could to go to the library. It was just such a happy place of imagination and wonder, and it opened up the whole world at my fingertips. And before COVID anyway, and we'll go back, I took my daughters and my sons before them, because they're grown now, to the library regularly. And I would have the library digital card now on my keys instead of that paper card that became so tattered. The library was my best friend.
Nice. We love that.
That might sound sad to people, but trust me, I value independence.
Well, you get that from the library. You do, because it's your space, and you can be your own independent person at the library, getting the material and information that you want. But we don't just be, here, read this, or here, you have to have that. No, it's a very independent place to grow and learn. And I think
the library taught me to be resourceful, and because I could access anything I needed, and it taught me to never be bored.
Yes.
I realized falling in love with resources, whether it was a globe or a book of an atlas or a magazine or a book, I learned to entertain myself at a very young age. And so boredom is something I absolutely never experience.
I love that. My mom would say, we would go down and be like, we're bored. And we'd be bored. She goes, but then you must be a boring person.
That's funny.
And I'd be like, think about that at a young age. And so then we'd always have something to do, or we end up at the library. And I'd be carrying my books down to the checkout station as much as I could. And it just, yeah, I agree. I think I grew up at the library myself. So I do appreciate that. So
I love
I
it.
love it. Love it too. So that's exciting. So I have to know, what is next for you?
So you've got Skills comes out in July, and then you've got Personality in November, and you've got Quirks is the book I just finished writing. So those 3 more children's books, and I think after that I'm going to write a middle school series and help middle school girls specifically with their confidence and self-esteem. I'm going to write books to speak to them, because I know that my confidence just fell through the floor when I hit middle school.
Yeah.
And I eventually rebounded, but I would like to save them some time and energy in that area.
It's so important, because at that age, you're growing and you're discovering who you are as a individual before you hit high school. And even then in high school, you never know for sure, but it's that pivotal middle grade that we tend to lose, because they don't talk. They don't want you around. They don't want you to, pick out any clothes for them, or even talk, express themselves, because they're still learning. They're still discovering what they like and don't like. And that's exciting. Yay.
Yeah, I'm excited about that project. I feel like I remember when I saw the Dove Beauty Project first come out, and it showed how they Photoshop the models and what they looked like at first, and where they end up making their neck longer, changing their skin tone, puffing their hair up, trimming off their arms and legs. I mean, it's not the same person. And I remember thinking when I first saw that, and that was probably maybe in my early 30s when I first saw that, thinking, I'd really like to help girls be more confident, but never in a million years realized that I might do that by being a writer. That's not something that I thought what I would do. So I'm really excited about it.
I think it's a natural fit for you. You're just amazing. I could see why the UMAP and your other programs won so many accolades, because it's very professional, very very cool.
Well, I see the beauty in every person and every individual, and it just alarms me when people don't see. Everyone has been gifted. Everyone has something to bring to this world. I remember I was in Savannah on vacation, and there was a man who had no legs in a wheelchair. And so he was quite disabled, and he was homeless too. And he had a case in front of him, and it was full of money. He had the most beautiful singing voice I think I'd ever heard.
Wow.
And even people who are homeless and have a pretty severe disability, he found a way to provide for himself through this beautiful singing voice. And I think sometimes you saw how much money he was making, and I thought, maybe he's staying homeless by choice, because I know some people who are homeless are mentally ill, and they don't necessarily trust the systems they have to go into to get out of that. But he seemed genuinely happy with the life that he was living. There was nothing pathetic, or I think he was living his life on his terms and bringing joy to people through his beautiful voice. And I turned to my children and I said, everyone has a gift, a beautiful gift to bring joy to other people. And that joy could be that you have the gift of organization, like Marie Kondo, to help us all declutter our lives. It doesn't have to be something
gift.
But the sad thing is, some people don't unwrap them. They leave them wrapped, and then they live and die without blessing the world with their gifts. Exactly. That's a tragedy.
That is a tragedy. Oh my goodness, that is such a tragedy. But hopefully, by people getting your books, they'll be able to learn how to find and discover their own, and how beneficial each and everybody is.
That's
so
my
where
hope.
can readers find you, and where can they get your books?
So they're available anywhere online. Of course, I think that they should go to Mysterious Galaxy. Is that the name of the bookstore in Escondido? Am I getting that right? Yeah. But you could get them on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Target, any of those places. If you just search my name, Kristin Sherry, on Amazon, all of my books will show up.
Okay. Yes, and please
And
do.
I pasted in the link on your website that shows all of your books into the chat so that people watching now and people watching later will be able just to follow that link to your website.
That's amazing.
Excellent.
Yes, I love it.
I just want to, we're at the end. I just want to thank you again for joining us, for sharing about your books. And I loved hearing about everything and the values. I hope that people watching can take away a lot. And I hope that they buy your books and they check them out and they read them and they get to experience everything. Thank you to Eveleen for joining me on this chat. Thank you to all of our viewers, the ones who commented. Dorada.
Do we have time to hear any of the comments? I'd love to know what people were thinking.
Yes, absolutely. I will. Let me read them. Okay. So we have You're Fantastic. Lisa has the first 2 books and they are awesome. Her grandchildren love them. Happy birthday to your son. She cannot wait to get You've Got Quirks. I can't either. I'm really excited about that one. And one of our staff members, Christine, she's really looking forward to the middle grade books and they sound amazing. And I think we all just got really excited when you said that.
I gotta get writing after this.
Yes.
Yes, so thank you. Thank you to everyone who commented, everyone who's been watching. Again, you can order You've Got Values from Mysterious Galaxy, and the link is in the chat so where you can get the rest of the books. Yeah.
That's right. And if you're interested in more free online programming like this, don't forget to check out our Facebook events to see all the fun and free digital events we have planned. We have a lot going on, so tune in.
We have tons. Yeah, and we hope to see you back later today at 3 p.m. for our next live virtual author chat with local author Erin Grammer as she discusses her debut novel, Magic Mutant Nightmare Girl, along with author Ashley Shuttleworth, who wrote A Dark and Hollow Star. And if you get a chance, please fill out our very short, very easy 3-question program survey. It is in the description of this event, and I've just pasted it into the comments as well. Even if you watch this later when it's no longer live, please fill that out so we can get feedback. Yes. So yes, thank you all for watching. Buy the books. Follow the author.
Yes, they're amazing. I love them. The You Got Gifts is incredible, and the You've Got Values is even better. And just the next one and the next one, it just seems to get so much better each time. So thank you, Kristin. We appreciate you being with us today, and have just a beautiful day. And I'm just going to explore my values and my gifts. And don't forget, in the back, there's a lot of worksheet in there to follow through and find and discover your own values, which I had a hard time figuring out which my top 3 were. So, and they change. So check it out. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. This was so much fun.
Have a great day, everyone.
Take care.